what I'm going to do today is I'm going to introduce to you the visual alignment that we can use to register our data. Now, what is key about visual alignment is that you can only do this with 2 images at a time. So you'll see in the YouTube video that I had provided you as a link from somebody else that he uses something called thumbnails. Now, if you don't use thumbnails or don't create them at the very beginning when you bring in your data, you won't be able to use the 2D thumbnails. So now we have to use the other version of it. So I'm going to introduce to you how to do a registration in this way, and then I'm going to show you how to go through it, how to adjust it, and then we'll move from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my database. I can right-click it and say Create Registration. So now at the bottom, it's going to come up with a registration name. So here I am going to call this one SW12. And you can also use underscores, or you can use hyphens if you like, or you can just use spaces. I don't suggest commas, it doesn't like commas. But if you want to do a underscore, that's fine. I'm going to use a hyphen and then click away. So now I have this little soccer ball that's right here, and that tells me that it is a registration. So right now I won't have any data in it, so I actually have to open it to be able to create a data set. So I double click on it and I get a registration window, and I know that that just cut off. So and so this registration window is where you can do all of your registrations. It actually is the same window for any type of registration that you do. And generally speaking, they follow the exact same routine, just in the beginning and really at the end. The only thing that's different is what is in the middle. So in order to create a scan world, or to create a registration, we got to introduce which scan worlds we want. So I'm going to click on the word Scan World in the top menu, and then choose Add Scan World. Here I'm going to include my 2 scan worlds, so I can use Shift and click, and then I move them over. Now, it won't do it with a folder, so I actually have to go into the folder. So I open it, and then I bring that one over, and then I can press OK. So here it becomes ungrouped. It comes in ungrouped. The highlighted one is your master scan. The one that is not highlighted is your slave scan. So now I'm going to do the actual registration. So I'm going to highlight both of those. And that's really important that you highlight both of them. If you don't highlight both of them, this won't work. So highlight them, then go to Visual Registration and Visual Alignment. And then we wait until it pops up. And here it is. So in this scan, we have this window here, and I have 2 different clouds. So the orange cloud is my master, and the blue cloud is my slave. So I can move my blue cloud around any direction that I need to. And that is the current mouse is a translation tool. So all it does is just moves it left to right. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to figure out where would be a good spot to place it. So I think that that's going to be a good location. And then I'm going to switch to view mode, which is the hand, so that I can zoom into this. Because of the fact that it is a point cloud, I can move in and out. You just can't zoom in and out when you are using the translation tool. So I can go back and I'm going to try again to try to line that corner up. Ideally find a corner because then it will stay at that location as you rotate around it. And then I'm going to switch to rotation tool. So my rotation tool is the tool next to it. That's the rotate point cloud. I click on that, and then I tell it where I want it to rotate around. So I click and hold my mouse, and then I am going to rotate this point cloud so that it lines up. So we're going to try to line it up as best we can, making sure that the walls are close together. And then I'm going to zoom in again, because I want to make sure that these lines are as close as they possibly can be to each other. So I can see that there's a little bit off here. I can see that there's a slight shift to the left. So I'm going to translate that so that I can adjust for that slight translation. And now everything looks like it matches. There might be a little bit off over here. That would just be a very minor rotation, but I can see that this corner is lined up well and this corner is lined up well. And even over here, there's a fairly good alignment. So then I'm going to switch to the elevation view, which is the one that looks like a box with a face on. And I click to that, and this one allows me to adjust it so that I am actually at the same elevation. Now, if you have scanned at different elevations, this may be off. If you have scanned at the same elevation, for example, on a floor, it's going to look like it lines up already. I can see that I have nothing to adjust in this case, so I'm happy with the result there, so I'm not going to touch anything. Otherwise, I can move it up and down. You cannot rotate the elevation, though, so that's just one key thing to remember. Then I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to click Optimize Constraint. And once I've hit Optimize Constraint, I'm going to see the RMS value that shows up here. And it's showing me that it's at 12 millimeters, which is actually the maximum value that you want for a displacement, but this is before it's actually been registered. So this is just my RMS. The RMS meets the limitation, and then I can say yes, merge into groups. Once I've done that, I can press the X button and I can come back here. So now what it said was ungrouped is now grouped, and I can see them showing up here. If I move to the tab, the constraint list, I can see that everything's being grouped into one group. The error, though, is still saying not applicable because it has not been registered yet. So we still need to apply our least squares adjustment to the entire point cloud. So to do that, I go to registration and I go to register. Now I have an error of 0. So this is a very excellent, obviously, error value that I would love to achieve all the time. Now, the key is, this is my RMS errors, right? So RMS is 12 mils, and then this error is also an RMS and residual. Now I want to double check visually, as we always do with any kind of registration, to make sure that it actually fits. So I'm going to go back to registration, and I'm going to go View Interim Results. So once I'm in here, I'm in a model space, temporary model space, and I can check it out to make sure that it actually does line up. So I can see that I've got my box here, and let's seek in here. So I've got my box. It looks like things are really well lined up. I'm going to go into the box to make sure that everything looks like it should. So I can identify things such as my door frames. I'm going to make sure that these signs look okay. They don't appear to be off. That wall seems to be okay. All the pipes up on the ceiling, they look like they are aligned well. And so I think we are good. So I think that this registration has worked. And then I can go up and close my model space, and I do not want to save it, so no. And so I'm ready to go with this one. I'm ready to say it's good to register. So I go to Registration, Create Scan World, Freeze Registration. Now sometimes you will see that they will go and there is an option of optimizing your point cloud. So there's optimized cloud alignment. You can do that, and it will either reduce or increase your error. So in that case, it actually went up, but we've optimized it. again, so second time, I'm going to, because I played with it that time, I'm just going to double check to make sure it's still okay. So that looks okay. It looks pretty much the exact same. It didn't change that much. Sometimes optimizing helps, sometimes it doesn't. So no. And then I'm going to go to registration, create scan world, freeze registration. So now it is a frozen registration and it has become a scan world. So if I open Navigator and take a look at that, then I can come down here and I see now scan world SW12 is its own scan world. So once you've done that with your visual alignment, then you are completed for those 2 scans. If you need to do more, like for example, you have 5 scans or 6 scans, you would do scans 1 and 2 together, then you would do 3 and 4 together, and then you would do 5 and 6 together. If you only have 5 scans, leave that 5th cloud on its own, because what you will do next is you would be applying the cloud to cloud registration, and that will be in my next video.